Morning, guys. Welcome in. Happy Tuesday. Welcome, welcome. Can do, good morning. Paris, good morning. Yes, Paris, you're right. Top of the morning. You got the day right. Yes, I got the day right today. Yes, today is Tuesday. Today is Tuesday. Morning, everybody. Morning, NorCal. Good morning, Carolina. Morning, everybody. I'm putting my phone on D&D. Nobody messaged me right now. Let's dive into it. We're already there. You guys are already here. Everyone's already here. So we already have a lot of people in here already. I think we can jump into it. So we're gonna talk about what's going on, right? So yesterday's session, sort of a pretty bound up ranged session, and to be honest, it was kind of expected after intense volatility for over 2 weeks. We're seeing a little bit of contraction in the market, and that's good because now contracts maybe will be priced better, right? So you are seeing that there is some contraction, meaning there's less volatility. Less volatility means options are priced better. If you're a futures trader, this obviously does not apply to you. If you're an equities trader, also doesn't apply to you. But if you're an options trader, this applies to you, right? So the more contracted we are, yes, it's going to be difficult for 1 or 2 or 3 days, but in the long run, it's going to make it better for option contracts, option premiums, because they'll be priced accordingly. So yesterday's session, we had a really good game plan, I think, right? Our mindset really was don't go long until we pull back, right? And we spoke about a few different levels on the SPY on Monday, right? We spoke about first of all, the big supply above us. We said, hey, don't go long in the supply because there is no play there. And if you are going to go long anywhere, it's going to be maybe the 530 or it's going to be the previous day high, the 535. Those are the two levels that we had from our Monday morning session, our Monday morning pre-market. We talked about the 535, the little Friday highs, and we spoke about the 530 level, which again was the big level that we had as a potential bounce area. We also spoke about the Qs chart. We talked about the Qs chart, and we'll go over the Qs chart today. We're going to talk about that overall supply above us, that 466, 468 supply. And we're also going to go over the demand below. We're going to go over the ES chart. ES level that we did not talk about was actually 5,400, right? And I'm gonna add this to my ES chart because this is a very big level here in ES, and we must have it on our charts. So some big stuff to go over. First, what I want to do is I want to go over our economic data. Then we'll go back into our actual charts and we'll talk about SPY, Tesla, QQQ, AMD, Apple, NVIDIA, the whole spiel, right? So let's dive into it. Michael Burns, awesome, man. Michael, hope you're doing well. Thank you so much. That's very kind of you. Very cool. Yes, Sean, there is also what's it called? The death cross on SPY. But let's dive into it, guys. I want to see how can I make it so. I want to know how I can fix the membership thing. That's really cool, though. I'm gonna see if I can set it up properly. But thank you, Michael, man. Much appreciated. You're the best. Thank you. All right, so let's move on. So on the economic side today, we have nothing to talk about, right? There is nothing important today. I mean, we just had Empire State Manufacturing at 8:30. Today's session is not really about economic data. Even tomorrow, there's some basic stuff, retail sales, but it's nothing important. On the earnings side, things get a little bit interesting. Today's session, Tuesday, you have Bank of America, Citigroup, Johnson & Johnson, PNC, but it really doesn't become very interesting until maybe Thursday session. Thursday session when you have TSM, which obviously is going to impact your chip names, and then Netflix, which of course will impact the rest of tech. So I wouldn't really expect too much on the earnings docket until Thursday. You guys are all aware though that we are entering earnings season, which means we're going to be talking about the earnings calendar more and more and more, especially coming into next week. Next week is a big earnings season. Okay, so let's dive into our SPY chart. Let's dive into it. Let's talk about it. Let's go over the levels on the SPY chart. Yes, like and subscribe if you guys can. That helps as much as possible. If we can get to 500 likes, that'd be perfect. That'd be a really good goal. We have 830 people in here and 184 likes. That's it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing, but that's okay. Right. So on the SPY chart, yesterday's session, pretty much all we did was just move from a supply, which not quite the supply, but nearing supply. We moved to a level that was nearing supply, 545. Our supply was around 548, and we moved back down to demand here, 535. Now, this was the first session where you can say that there really was no winner. Okay, there was no winner. Bulls didn't win and bears didn't win. We stayed completely range bound, right? You can see that we stayed completely range bound. But if you understood yesterday that the only plays you could really watch were either looking for supply rejections, which it did reject supply, but rejected a bit early, or you said this, I want to wait for demand below. And you said, okay, let's wait for demand below and let's look for calls at demand. 534, 535 was the only long spot yesterday. You saw that basically what we did was you turned that Friday high into a low on Monday, right? That Friday high turning into a low on Monday was a really important hold yesterday, okay? Now, today's session, the level that we're holding this morning is still 535. And I think that if you want any more sort of reassurance, this is an important level, if you take a second and just switch the ticker, go to ES for a second. And this is why I'm adding a level here on my ES chart. I had the level on my SPY chart. I had the 535 on my SPY chart. But on the ES chart, we did not have this, right? And the ES chart, it simply is what? It simply all comes back down to this level right here. It's this level here at 5400 ES. The level to watch for today's session is 5400 ES. Now, the reason why this is an important level is because one, it's a psychological level, but two, it's a Friday high, or almost quite nearly the high, and now it's become the low on Monday session. So this level, if it wasn't important to you yesterday, well, today it should be a little bit even more important. Now, that's why I have it as a dotted line in my chart, right? So this is an important pivot today's session. So what does this mean for me today? It means for me that this is going to happen, right? If I see us holding the 5400 or 535 SPY, I'm looking mostly for long plays. If I see us fail below 535, I'll look for shorts back down to 530, right? I would look for a traditional break and retest short under 535 for puts, which again would be the equivalent of 5400 ES, right? On the ES chart, right? Excuse my handwriting, but it's a 5400 ES chart. That's the level here. So watch that today. If we break below 5400 ES or 535 SPY, you can look for shorts for a move back down into 530. That's the first play I have today on the SPY chart. The secondary understanding is knowing that we are above 535, and if we're above 535, then we are still holding support here, because yesterday's session we held it, a Friday session that was a high. We know that if we're holding at 535, you don't really want to short into that low. If you're going to short anywhere, you're looking for sort of reactionary shorts back in supply, right? Which is the level that we had from sort of yesterday's session, but not quite, because it was not quite perfectly off the supply zone. So if you're going to watch anything, look for shorts here at supply, or look for longs here at demand if we are holding demand, right? Because again, if we start doing this is a long, but if we break below the level, then obviously this is a short. So those are the three scenarios I'm expecting today. It's really all I would want to look for today's session, right? Either 535 failures, 535 hold if the market does hold it, or look for a short play here at 540, 550, which I think is a very nice short opportunity today's session, okay? But here's the problem. If we break under 535 today, which may happen, right? You're already seeing some weakness in the pre-market, right? You are seeing some weakness in the pre-market. But if we break under 535, it's not like we're going to go back to zero, right? We're probably going to see this. We're probably going to see us pull back to the 530 level, which again was our support from our Friday level. It was a Friday support, not the high. The high is the level here, but the support zone from Friday session was 530. And also was that Thursday level, and then also became obviously a level here in Wednesday session. So what I would watch for is if we do break under 535 today, I would expect us to only sort of retrace to that 530, okay? I don't know if we're going to break this the first test. In fact, I would argue we probably do try to hold it for a little bit. So be careful of shorting back into 530 SPY, 530 SPY, okay? And on the ES chart, it is what? It is simply just saying, hey, don't short back into 5300 ES, right? So if you're going to short, you know that, okay, you're short back under here at 5400 for a downside move, maybe a little bear flag play back under our support zone, right? Back under support, back under Monday's lows, back under our Friday's highs, and you're looking for a short, but is only as far back into 5300 ES. This is what I'd watch for, right? This is probably going to be my top watch for today if we do sort of break down. That would be the best possible play today. Okay. Now, here's the contingency though, right? Notice that I am not bearish right now. I'm actually completely neutral. I don't really have any sentiment until we either break below 5,400 ES or we start doing this and start holding it. Because if we hold it today, if we do this today, if we hold this level today, and we just start doing this, right? Well, then obviously we're going to go back into this high over here, which is that 53.50, 55.30, sorry, 55.30, which again is our 550 SPY, and we just grind higher. So our gauge today's session really is 5,400 ES. Just don't short into it, right? If we start holding it, maybe set up a long, right? Yesterday, that's where actually a long was presented. But if we break below it, then short it and look for a move back into 53, right? That's what we're doing today, right? Our bias is by levels. And if we're stuck between a supply and a demand, and a supply and a demand, then we're just respecting the demand low and respecting the supply high. That's it. That's all we're doing. And we're just seeing what happens, how we react to these levels, which then will dictate how we trade it. Okay? So on the Q's chart, on the QQQ chart, Brett, do you have a level on 540 in SPY? Do you have a level of 540 in SPY? Someone's asking. Ace, do I have a level of 540? Not really. Not really. I mean, it's a pre-market level. You know what? You look, this would be a smaller level, right? And this is the importance of like, maybe you could argue there are some smaller levels we can talk about. That would be a smaller level. I can see it. It's just simply a pre-market high. If you're looking for a trend-based entry in SPY today, maybe this would confirm upside, right? That's a good point, right? Because if we do break above the 540 today, right, this could be that trend-based entry you're looking for a move back into the supply high, right? So that's a good point. But again, this is not a colossal level. This is a small intraday pre-market level. So it's not make or break today, but yes, I can see the importance of 540, right? So if 540 breaks, you probably do have a trend-based entry for a move back into the supply, which again comes into Monday's highs and then that massive supply 550, 549. Okay, let's move on, guys. Let's go over the QQQ chart. On the Q's chart, this is the level I'm watching in Q's. 1 hour time frame, right? This is the level. You have a supply high here, 467, 468, right? The big supply here, you can see from the low here, the low here, the low here, the low here, the high here, right? And a demand here at 543. Nothing has changed from yesterday's session into today's session, right? This is all the same. We simply still have a supply, right? Supply, 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 okay? And a demand, a demand, a demand, a demand. And why did we reject early yesterday in SPY's chart? This is important because sometimes you look at charts, you're wondering like, this doesn't make sense, right? You look at SPY's chart and you're like, well, Brett, you said that the supply on SPY was 549 yesterday, but we rejected at 544.70, right? How could that possibly still be the supply zone today, right? Well, the reason why we rejected off this level a bit earlier, right, was because of Qs. The QQQ chart rejected almost perfectly off of our 466 level. You can see the high of our pre-market session on Monday was 465.50, right? That was pretty damn close to our QQQ supply. And I think if there's anything you learned yesterday, it's this. Don't be long back into supply, and also don't be short back into demand. Those are the two levels I'd watch today here in the Qs chart. Supply above, demand below. If you're going to look for any trend-based entry today, I would say you can't really short until we lose the 452, right? Here on the QQQ chart, 452 is our Monday low. It also is that little Friday intraday level. You want to see us lose that 452.50 for a downside move, for a move back into 443. If you're watching for shorts, you can look for that to happen today. But again, you could also still watch the pop and fade, and you can watch the breakdown and maybe a sort of reversion trade off demand below. Because again, this is still demand and this is still supply. Simple, just levels, right? We're just going over levels when a market is sitting in range. So a lot of things are the same as what it was yesterday. Because fundamentally, what has changed from yesterday to today? Nothing, right? We're simply in the same range, between this sandwich between the same two levels. So that's it, okay? Let's move on, guys. Let's talk about the NVIDIA chart. Let's go to NVIDIA first. So what did we say about NVIDIA yesterday? We said NVIDIA yesterday, one thing. We said look for longs back at 111.50. And this was the only trade I'd taken yesterday. I took calls. Actually, that's not true. I took a little bit of meta yesterday as well. But this was my main trade yesterday. I took the 111.5 yesterday here on the meta chart. This is the exact level we spoke about. And this to me is interesting, right? Because we sold right back off into demand, right? I went long into this red candle and this green candle here as well, and kind of moved from 111.5 to 113, and that was pretty much my day yesterday. Okay, now this by no means is a beautiful trade. This is just a demand reversion trade, and then we finally saw that what ended up happening yesterday was, yeah, we held it once and twice and three times and four times, and then finally we broke below it. And this is so common, right? This is just, I think you should always keep in your head. Okay, the more times the level gets tapped, the more likely it is to break, right? So when you have a level of supply, right, and it taps once and twice and three times and four times and five times, every sequential time it taps, it's the chances of it breaking increases. Okay, and that's why you don't want to be sitting here and Brett says let's buy calls in NVIDIA 111.50. It doesn't mean we buy calls every time we tap it, right? The first time is the only good time. The second and the third and the fourth, it becomes less and less and less probable because those buyers get etched away on the books, right? So that's why the 111.5 worked, but then finally we broke below it. And this actually was a really good short. If you were a level-based trader yesterday, you traded the longs off demand, you could have caught a really nice short yesterday on the downside move as well. You could have caught on the long side, and you could have flipped short back under 11.5 and looked for a move back to 109.50, which again was a very big level as well. So really nice technical day yesterday in NVIDIA's chart. Now the question becomes, what can we do today? Well, today's session, simply this. We don't like the chart, right? The chart looks like nothing to me until it's above 111.5. That's my bull bias here, okay? If we can break above the bull bias level, which in this case is 111.5, right? And look for a little break and retest, I can look for an upside trade back in 115. Again, this would be a very nice trade, but only if what happens? Only if we break above 111.5. If we break above 111.5, look for calls. In contrast, we can also look for a breakdown trade in this chart now. Yesterday was pure bullish on NVIDIA as long as we're above 111.5. Now we're under 111.5. Technically, I could be a little bit bearish, right? I could look for puts back under 109.50. I could look for a put trade back under 109.50 for a move back into 106. So today's session, I am simply doing this. I am understanding this is our range here. Our range, our channel, our consolidation phase, whatever you want to call it, is simply right in front of us. Look for calls above 111.50, look for puts below 109.5. Simple, okay? And we know what we're targeting. Target high, target low. AMD. AMD rejected off supply. What did we say yesterday? We said supply at supply, 97, 98, this whole area. And again, that's the bear flag lows. This was exactly where you did not want to long yesterday, right? And I hope you guys didn't, right? Here's the thing about these pre-markets is it's not always about me giving you guys trades, right? I'll give you guys levels, right? And give you guys opportunities, right? But it's also about showing you things that I would not do too, right? And I think that was an important thing on AMD yesterday, right? AMD was not an opportunity, but it was a warning, okay? So like a warning, hey, don't long AMD into the supply zone. And that for me was a big thing yesterday, right? You can see supply here, supply there, and the bear flag lows. That's where AMD just rejected off of yesterday's session. Now the question becomes, what can we do here in AMD? Nothing, right? We can't do anything here in AMD. The only long side trade we have in AMD is if we can break and hold above 98. If we can break and hold above 98, that's your trade. That's your opportunity. But until then, I would not touch it. I'd stay far away. Where does it go to? It probably goes back into 90, right? And here is an opportunity as well. We have an opportunity here, and you have an opportunity there. This opportunity is subprime. This opportunity is prime. Why? Because this is a continuation trade and this is a reversion trade. The reversion trade is not as beautiful, but I still would say there should be some sort of reactionary move here off the 89 level. So watch 89 for demand or watch the 98 level for break and retest. Those are the only long side plays here I have on the AMD chart. I think a move on chips is coming though. To be honest with you, I see it on the IV, on the options. I think there's something big coming with, I think there's a big news looming on chips. Obviously, we all know this. Many of you guys who are keeping, up to date on news know that there's something big on chips every day. But I think something is coming this week. I don't know what it is, but I can tell that the options are pricing in for it. So even though I'm talking about technicals here on AMD, there is a chance of headline risk today, this week, this entire week, not just today, but this entire week on chips. So be aware of that. Okay. On the Avgo chart, what did we say yesterday? We said, hey, 186.50, right? 186.5, the daily 200 SMA, the colossal level, the whatever you want to call it, right? Call it Godzilla, whatever you want to call it. This is the colossal level, and that's the level that we rejected off of yesterday's session. We knew that yesterday the only long opportunity on Avgo was going to be a break and hold above what? Above the colossal, the Godzilla level. If it can break it, upside. But we didn't break it. And now we're rejecting off of it. And where do we move to? We probably move back into 170. So this probably goes back to 170. I would not touch it long side until either 170 or maybe a long opportunity above that daily 200 SMA. Okay. On the SMH, there's nothing to talk about here. It's a larger time frame is the demand coming in, but of course there's nothing to go over here. It's just sort of range bound. Okay. Let's move on. Let's go over Tesla's chart. Tesla. On the Tesla chart, I think there is also a big move coming here. Oh, it's because they have earnings next week. So Tesla has earnings next week. You can see there is a little bit of a wedge forming here on Tesla. This is indisputable, right? There is a big move looming here on Tesla, either above that 260. If it breaks 260, probably goes back into that 280 area, or it's going to be a downside trade back under 246. So what I would do today's session here in Tesla is I would look for a break and hold above either side of the wedge. I would look for puts below the 246 level, or I'd look for calls above 260. I am not just saying I'm not saying this. I'm not saying let's just go to the 5-minute time frame, little intraday time frame, and this is what happens. I'm not saying this. I'm not saying what we do is we come in today and we buy puts right here. Why would I not do that? Because I don't care. I put more emphasis on the level than I do my elementary school chart pattern. Okay, this is very important. I put more emphasis on the Monday low level than I do my elementary school triangle. Okay, very important, right? I don't want to be long. I don't want to be shorting back into a Monday low. That's important. Okay, the only short would be, hey, breaks my little pattern, and then hey, also breaks below the Monday low. Then I can short for a move back into 240. That's what I would watch. Okay, so keep that in mind. I'm not just going to show you guys patterns. I'm going to show you guys what's going on here level-based. Level-based, we have to lose 246. That's that Monday low. If we lose the Monday low, we should go back into 240, 140, and possibly even 240. That would be an opportunity today. If we break 240, then we go back into 230. That's sort of the larger term picture here on the Tesla chart. We have 1,200 people here, and we have 437 likes. Let's get that to 500. I need to start doing this. I have to get annoying with it, or else we won't ever get the likes that we need. Okay, guys, let's move on. So also 260 breakout, obviously, right? If we break about 260, we have room back in 270. Pretty simple chart here in Tesla. Let's watch either above or below the triangle or the levels. Okay, let's move on. So PLTR, Walmart, yes, we're gonna go over it. We are gonna go over it. Let's go over Meta. What did we say about Meta yesterday, right? What did we say? If you guys remember from the stream yesterday, we spoke about Meta. What? We said one thing on Meta. We said Meta was relatively weak. Okay, and for that reason, if we're gonna watch anything on Meta, it should be short. Okay. Now the problem yesterday for me is if I wanted to short Meta yesterday, what actually was quite difficult to find an entry point because we very quickly rejected off of the supply here at 555. And this is something that you're going to see pretty often is when you run analysis like this in the hourly time frame, the 15-minute time frame, the daily time frame, you're probably going to be right majority times. Probably 85% of the time you'll be right. But the issue is of the 100 trades, of the 100 analyses that you give, right, that you give yourself or whatever you do, right, you're going to be right about majority of them. But not all of them are going to present a trade, okay? For example, I'll give you an example right now. Avgo, right? I can probably argue Avgo goes back into 170, right? It probably should go to 170. But is there an entry? No, there's no entry, right? Because there's no level that would give me an entry here, right? I don't really want to short below 176 because there's so much demand below, okay? I don't want to short at 178 because it's still sitting there pre-market, right? So there's reasons not to take the trade. Now, example like Meta, right? The reason why Meta was good yesterday, but it was difficult to find an entry here was because it projected so quickly off of our level. You really just had to be short within the first 2-3 minutes of the day. Otherwise, if you shorted anywhere else, you're shorting in between the midpoint of a supply and a demand. So understand that, right? We were right about Meta yesterday, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we caught the A+ whole move, right? I didn't, right? I caught a little bit of a scalper trade in this, but I didn't catch the whole move. And it wasn't even a great trade. The best possible trade was right here. That's where the best possible trade was. And if you caught that trade, then you should pat yourself on the back, right? That's the opportunity. That's the A+ trade. If you shorted it anywhere else, here or here or here or here or there, right? You're kind of scalping off of a larger time frame rejection at subprime levels. And that's what I did. I did that, right? I literally scalped it for a little bit with Rav. Rav and I shorted a little bit here and kind of a little bit of a move. But reality was the best possible trade was over here. And that's where the best opportunity was yesterday. Now, we broke 537. We pushed into 528. Now, today's session, what can we do here in Meta? The next level here is 528. If we can lose 528, we can look for a move back down into the 518. Pretty simple, right? 528 breaks, look for puts back into 518. That's it, right? If we pop higher today and push into 585 supply, that's where you're looking for shorts. Okay, so supply there, and obviously demand here at 528. You can look for shorts back down to 518. That would be a good trade. The problem is this though, okay? So right now, Meta is relatively weak. I see it, it's relatively weak. It looks good for shorts, okay? But you see this crazy upside move on Wednesday, right? I would venture, we do not want to be short back into this 518. The reason why is because that to me is where I think a lot of bids would be sitting. And because that was the move right prior to our massive upside impulse move. So be cautious of this today. If we see a little bit of a dump move today, under 528, and we pull back into 518, you're like, oh my God, we're in such a beautiful trade here. We're going to go back into 500 and probably 440, right? And this happens. I would not be surprised, right? Because this, again, was where that big impulse came in previously. So be careful of that today's session, of watching that 518 demand. This is a big area demand, and I would be hesitant of being short into that demand, okay? Larger time frame here on Meta, though. Larger time frame. Here's the issue, right? Is the closer and closer and closer I get to this demand, right? The more I don't want to short it. So I do think there is a surgical short today under 528. But again, going back to my same idea before, let's not be short back into 518, right? That should be our contingency. And if there's a long today in Meta, right? If there's any long today in Meta, which I want to explore both ideas today because I don't want to just be all bear biased here, right? If there's a long today, I see the little trend line here. I don't really like longs until it breaks 555, right? That's sort of my play here. If it breaks 555, then I can look for longs. But until then, I would stay away from the long side, okay? Meta has a lawsuit. Yeah, Meta also has news on it as well. Right, that's exactly right. Apple chart is something I'm watching today, right? Why is Apple something I'm watching today? Because we have a demand or a high, a high, a high, a break, a retest. And what's happening here in Apple is we are potentially turning this into a hold, right? And I'm watching this today for a move back into 210, okay? So let's see if this presents an idea here today. If it presents a trade, this is one of my main watches today, okay? So watching to see if Apple can hold this 200 level, 199 to 200. Best possible scenario today would be a break under it and a reclaim. Then I can look for longs. That's what I'd watch today's session here in Apple's chart. Okay, and I'd target a move back into 210. This is a nice chart, a nice looking chart here. I would keep an eye on it going into today's session. Right, you see here in the intraday, high, and lows formed yesterday. We spoke about this 200 bounce yesterday's session. Now today's session, we're sitting right back in the demand. Let's look for this to happen today. That could be a nice opportunity. Now, if it loses 200, it does this, then it probably just goes right back down to 175. Okay. Let's move on. So yes, we have 620 likes. We have a lot of likes today. That's actually really good. Thank you guys. Thank you all for doing that. Right. PLTR. On the PLTR chart, we spoke yesterday about the 93 break and retest, right? That's what we spoke about. Breakout, pull back long, held 92, right? That was a trade, and then basically ripped in a high. I think PLTR was good yesterday. I think PLTR had a really clean chart yesterday. I think PLTR gave really good price action yesterday. But the problem now today is I don't know what to do here now, right? This has been consolidating for too long. I think the only way I can trade this now is off of 90. So off of this 89.5 to 90 level. That's the only way I would trade this. Retracement there, look for longs. That's it. That's the only opportunity I see here in PLTR. Okay. If it just keeps ripping, right, watch the supply at 97. It's still supply, right? Don't get confused. That's still a supply zone to watch out for. Okay. Right. Let's move on. Let's go over Microsoft. I mean, that's a level, right? This is absolutely a level to watch out for. I can see it, right? I can really see it. I can see it right there. It's right in front of us. We held that 350, ripped higher off of it. 395, right? I mean, we don't want to be long in 395, but if we could see us clear above that 395, that's where I would expect some more upside, right? And where does it go to? If we clear 395, and really you have to adjust this because you can see it's not quite perfect. It's really 396.50, right? This whole area to me is an area that is just a big area of resistance, right? So I would say let's not be long in here yet, right? Let's look for us to clear above this resistance if we can. Then we can look for a move back into that 406, 400 area, right? So if you're going to watch this today, you're watching probably a break and retest here for upside, or you're watching for a reversion trade, right? That's the latter actually is what I'd watch out for, okay? I think this is probably the most likely scenario today, Microsoft, right? Okay, let's continue moving on. Let's go over, what time is it, down to 3? Yeah, we have 2 minutes to go. Let's go through a speed round, guys. Type your tickers in the chat. I'm gonna go through as much as I can in the time that we have. IWM, demand below 170. It's a big demand. I'd watch demand and I'd watch supply. That's it. Those are the two things I'd watch out for, okay? Nothing else I see here in IWM. Big supply above, big demand below, okay? Amazon, on the Amazon chart, I see a bear flag here, rejecting off 190, right? If it loses the 178, I can look for shorts, the bear flag shorts, and then move down lower. That's what I'm watching here on Amazon. This is actually a nice watch today. I'm keeping that actually on my main watch, right? Under 178 for puts, okay? Let's move on. Chuck, thank you, Chuck. I'll go over SoFi. Let's go over SoFi. SoFi. On the SoFi chart, I mean, your level is so clearly there, right? This is it. You're basically shorting a bear flag into the daily 200 SMA, right? That's a good that to me is a best possible short, right? If it's going to be short anywhere, it's going to be here. So your stop loss is simply what, 11.3? It's a little bit high, but 11.3 is your stop loss. And you're looking for it to reject here, right? It rejected almost perfectly off the level here in Monday session. Now what would confirm this is if we can break under 10.5. If we can break under 10.5, that's where we have a confirmed short and a move back down to 10.0 and 9.1, 9.108, right? It's 9.08, okay? Which again should be just, I'll make it just 9, just to make it more clear, okay? So if you're short the stock, you're shorting here, right? And you're looking for a move back down there, confirms your short and downside play, right? And your stop loss is simply right there for an opportunity short, okay? Right, let's move on. Last ticker of the day. Let's do BA. Let's finish with a complete dud of a ticker, but 150 demand, 160 supply. That's all I see here on the BA chart. Guys, thank you all for joining in. I will see you guys all for live trading if you trade with us. If you don't trade with us in the description below. Bye, guys. I'll see you all soon.